Have you ever found yourself bending, changing, and compromising just to keep someone else happy? It starts small, just little things, right? But over time, you realize that you've given so much of yourself, you barely recognize who you've become. Maybe it's a partner, a friend, a family member, no matter who it is, their toxicity seeps into your life, slowly eroding your sense of peace and self-worth. You've stayed in this cycle telling yourself that if you just tried harder, if you just gave more, things would change. But deep down, you know it's not working, and it leaves you questioning, how much more can I take? The truth is, you don't have to take it anymore. You have the power to break free. You've been patient, you've been understanding, you've told yourself that love means putting up with the tough stuff, that compassion is about accepting people for who they are, flaws and all. And so you've tolerated it, the sharp words, the manipulation, the disrespect. You've convinced yourself that if you just stay calm, if you just let it slide, things will get better. But deep down, you know that it's taking a toll on you. You can feel the weight, the exhaustion creeping into your bones, into your mind. The price of tolerating toxic behavior isn't always obvious at first. It's subtle, insidious, but over time, you start to notice it's chipping away at your peace. It's draining your happiness, and in the quiet moments when you're alone with your thoughts, you realize that you're no longer the person you used to be. The first time you let it slide, it felt like you were being the bigger person, like you were doing the right thing. You forgave them, gave them another chance, told yourself that you understood, and maybe, just maybe, you believed it would all be okay. But over time, that understanding turned into something else. It turned into a quiet acceptance of behavior that you never should have accepted in the first place. And it's not because you're weak. No, it's because you wanted to believe in the best of them. You hoped they would change. You hoped that your kindness would be enough to fix the things that were broken. But instead, you've just built up a wall of resentment, frustration, and weariness. The person you're tolerating hasn't changed, but you have, and it's costing you more than you realize. Here's the truth you need to face. Tolerating toxicity isn't an act of love or compassion, it's an act of self-sacrifice. You've convinced yourself that you're being patient, but in reality, you're giving away your peace, your emotional well-being, your sense of self. Every time you tolerate toxic behavior, you're allowing someone else to define your emotional state. You're letting them dictate how you feel, how you think, and what you believe you deserve. And that, my friend, is where the real cost lies. You are allowing someone else to steal pieces of your soul, and in return, you're left with nothing but exhaustion and a deep sense of loss. It's not just about the big moments of disrespect. It's in the small, everyday moments, the dismissive comments, the passive-aggressive remarks, the silent treatment. You've allowed these things to slide because you've convinced yourself that it's not worth rocking the boat, that it's easier to just let it go. But every time you let it slide, you're diminishing your own worth. You're saying, I don't matter enough to set boundaries. I don't matter enough to demand respect. And the more you do this, the more you lose yourself. The more you forget who you are, what you stand for, and what you deserve. But there comes a moment when you can no longer ignore the cost. when you look at yourself in the mirror and realize that you've been so busy trying to make everyone else comfortable, trying to be the understanding one, that you've forgotten how to take care of yourself. You've been so busy managing everyone else's emotions that you've neglected your own. And that's when the shift begins. That's when you start to realize that tolerating toxicity isn't just hurting them, it's hurting you. And you deserve better than this. The real breakthrough comes when you understand that you don't need to tolerate toxic behavior in order to be kind or loving. In fact, true love and respect start with you. True kindness is about setting boundaries, about saying no when you need to, about protecting your peace even when it means disappointing someone else. It's not about being cruel or punishing them. It's about loving yourself enough to walk away from situations that don't honor you. It's about saying, I deserve to be treated with respect, and if you can't give that to me, then I'm not going to tolerate this anymore. The moment you stop tolerating toxicity is the moment you take your life back. It's the moment you reclaim your peace, your happiness, your sense of self. And yes, it might be uncomfortable at first. Walking away from toxic people, from toxic relationships is never easy, but it is necessary, because when you stop tolerating the things that break you down, you open up the space for the things that build you up. Healthy relationships, real love, and the deep sense of inner peace that comes from knowing you are worthy of respect. You don't have to carry this burden any longer. The weight you've been carrying doesn't belong to you. It was never yours to bear. When you release the hold that toxic people have on your life, you make room for the kind of relationships that nourish you, that fill you with love, and that honor who you are. You stop sacrificing yourself for the sake of others, and you begin to value yourself in ways you never thought possible. So here it is. Stop tolerating the things that tear you down. Stop allowing toxic behavior to dictate your happiness. When you choose to protect your peace, when you choose to honor yourself, everything changes. The relationships you build from that place will be stronger, healthier, and more fulfilling. And you will finally know what it feels like to live a life where your peace is sacred, where you are treated with the love and respect you deserve. You felt it, haven't you? That whisper in the back of your mind, the one that makes you second guess every decision, every choice you make. That feeling that creeps in when someone close to you belittles you, undermines your worth, or dismisses your feelings. It's a slow burn at first. A little comment here, a sharp word there, but over time it starts to eat away at you. And before you know it, you're looking at yourself in the mirror, questioning your own worth, your own decisions, your own abilities. You've started to doubt yourself, and every time you hear that voice, you wonder, am I good enough? It's not just that one person or those few moments that affect you. It's the constant exposure to toxic behavior, the manipulative comments, the lack of support, the way they make you feel small or invisible. It wears you down over time. Slowly, you begin to wonder if their treatment of you is justified. You start to wonder if maybe you are the problem. You've let their words shape how you see yourself. You've let them define your worth, and in doing so, you've given them power over your confidence. But here's what you need to understand. The cycle of self-doubt is not yours to carry. It was never meant to be yours. Toxic people, toxic behavior They leave scars. Scars that don't just affect your heart but also your belief in yourself. They make you question your every move, make you feel like you can't trust your instincts, like you're not capable of making good decisions. They've chipped away at your confidence so subtly that it feels like a part of you now. But this is where the transformation begins, realizing that this self-doubt isn't the truth of who you are. The truth is, you are more than the toxic voices in your life. You are more than the people who have tried to control or belittle you. You are more than the fear and self-doubt that has been instilled in you by others. Reclaiming your self-belief starts with remembering who you are, not through the lens of someone else's criticism, but through your own truth. It starts with choosing to believe in yourself again. You've been walking around in this fog of uncertainty, not sure if you can trust your own decisions, second guessing your every move. But the moment you decide to stop letting someone else's toxicity define you, you start to clear that fog. You begin to see yourself again, not as the person they told you you were, but as the person you've always been underneath all that doubt. You remember your strengths, your resilience, and your ability to trust your instincts. That's when the shift happens. The moment you reclaim your self-belief. This isn't just about cutting toxic people out of your life. It's about cutting off the part of yourself that has accepted their behavior as a reflection of your worth. It's about telling yourself that you no longer need to measure up to their standards, their criticisms, their manipulation. You start to believe that your voice matters. You start to trust that your feelings are valid. You begin to walk in the fullness of who you are, unapologetically, without constantly looking over your shoulder, wondering if you're doing the right thing. The strength to break the cycle of self-doubt lies within you. It always has. But let's be clear, this isn't easy. It's not a switch that you flip overnight. You've spent so much time allowing others to dictate your self-worth. It can be hard to break free from that mindset. But every time you stand up for yourself, every time you choose to believe in your own worth, you reinforce the truth. You are enough. You are capable. You are worthy of love, respect, and everything good this world has to offer. It starts with you. It starts with reclaiming your confidence, with putting yourself first, and with shutting out the noise that has kept you in doubt. So, here's the breakthrough. The moment you stop allowing toxic people to influence your self-worth, the moment you reclaim your self-belief, you step into a new version of yourself. You begin to make decisions based on what you know is right for you, not based on the fear of disappointing someone else. You begin to trust yourself again, and in doing so, you break the cycle of doubt that's held you captive for so long. You are not the sum of their criticisms. You are not defined by their behavior. You are a person worthy of confidence, respect, and love. And when you reclaim that belief in yourself, nothing, not even the harshest words from others, can ever shake you again. You felt it, haven't you? That nagging feeling, like something isn't quite right, but you can't put your finger on it. It starts small, just a comment here, a look there, a subtle shift in the way someone makes you feel. At first, you tell yourself you're overreacting, that maybe you're just being too sensitive. But the more it happens, the more it wears on you, until one day you look up and realize you've been living in a fog of confusion and self-doubt, and you start to wonder, am I the problem? This is what toxicity does. It's insidious. It doesn't come at you like a wave crashing on the shore. No, it comes like a slow drip, wearing you down over time until you're no longer sure who you are, what you want, or where your boundaries even exist. You start questioning yourself, you start adjusting who you are, how you think, what you feel, just to keep the peace, just to keep the person in your life happy. And somewhere along the way, you lose sight of what you deserve and what you're willing to tolerate. Toxicity doesn't always look like a screaming match or an obvious fight. It's often quieter than that. It's in the guilt trips. It's in the passive aggressive comments that leave you wondering if you've done something wrong when you haven't. It's in the manipulation, the way someone can twist your words, make you feel guilty for having needs or for standing up for yourself. It's in the subtle emotional abuse that makes you question your worth, your ability to make decisions, and your right to have your own space. At first, it seems small, but over time, it builds. It makes you feel like you're walking on eggshells in your own life, never quite sure when the next thing will set them off, when the next emotional bomb will drop. And here's the thing, if you don't recognize it for what it is, if you don't call it out for what it is, it will consume you. It will take your peace, your happiness, your sense of self. It will drain you, bit by bit, until you don't even recognize who you've become. And all the while you keep telling yourself it's not that bad, that it's just how they are, that maybe you're being too sensitive, too dramatic, but deep down you know it's more than that. You know something isn't right, but you're not sure what to do about it. So, let me tell you this. You are not overreacting. The signs of toxicity are real, and they don't get better with time. They only get worse. They chip away at you until there's nothing left but a shell of the person you used to be. But you don't have to stay there. You don't have to keep accepting this behavior because you think it's normal. The first step in reclaiming your peace, in protecting yourself, is recognizing the sign. The first sign is manipulation. It's when someone constantly twists situations to make you feel responsible for their emotions. They guilt trip you for things you didn't do, or they play the victim to get you to do what they want. They might say things like, if you really loved me, you do this for me, or I'm so upset because of you, leaving you feeling like you're the cause of their unhappiness. But here's the truth. You are not responsible for anyone else's emotions. You don't have to carry the weight of someone else's emotional turmoil. And if they make you feel like you do, that's manipulation. The second sign is emotional abuse, though it's rarely obvious at first. It's in the subtle put-downs, the sarcasm, the comments that leave you questioning yourself. It's when someone makes you feel small, unimportant, or not good enough. It might look like them dismissing your feelings, telling you that you're overreacting, or belittling your accomplishments. Over time, this wears you down. It makes you doubt your worth, your abilities, your decision. But here's the truth. You are worthy of respect, no matter how they make you feel, and no one has the right to diminish you. Then there's the silent treatment or withholding affection. It's when someone punishes you by shutting you out emotionally, refusing to communicate or be present. They use silence as a weapon, making you feel abandoned or desperate for their attention. This is control, this is manipulation, and it's a sure sign of toxicity. Healthy relationships don't operate on fear or silence. They operate on communication, respect, and mutual care. If you're being punished for expressing yourself, that's not love, that's control. The most insidious sign of all is when you stop trusting yourself. You stop making decisions because you're afraid of what they'll think. You stop speaking up because you're worried about their reaction. You start to feel like you don't know who you are anymore or what you want. Your own instincts and desires become clouded by their influence. You start asking yourself, am I crazy? Am I overreacting? But here's the breakthrough. Your feelings are valid. Your intuition is real. You don't need their approval to make good decisions or to know what's right for you. Recognizing toxicity in your life is the first step. The second step is deciding you won't tolerate it anymore. You don't have to stay in this space. You don't have to keep letting these toxic people control your happiness, your energy, your peace. You have the power to walk away. You have the power to protect your mental health and reclaim your life. The moment you stop tolerating toxic behavior is the moment you start taking your power back. It's the moment you decide that your peace is worth more than their drama. It's the moment you choose yourself. And when you do that, when you choose yourself, when you stop accepting behavior that doesn't honor you, you'll find that the peace you've been searching for is already within you. You don't need anyone's permission to live your life with joy, with freedom, and with respect. And no one, not even the most toxic person in your life, can take that from you. You've been there, haven't you? Constantly bending, constantly giving, constantly saying yes when you wanted to say no, all in the name of keeping the peace, avoiding conflict, are just trying to make everyone else happy. You've allowed people to cross your boundaries, thinking that it was easier to let things slide than to stand firm, to assert yourself, and over time, it wears on you. You start to feel like you're drowning in other people's needs, other people's expectations, and you're left with nothing but exhaustion and a sense of losing yourself. You've given so much, but in return, you felt empty, violated, misunderstood, and all because you didn't set a boundary. Setting boundaries isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. You've been taught that love is about sacrifice, that to show you care, you have to give everything you have. But that's not love, it's self-destruction. When you allow others to repeatedly violate your emotional, mental, and even physical space, you're not protecting yourself. You're teaching people that it's okay to take from you without giving back. You're telling them that your needs don't matter. But here's the thing, your needs don't matter. Your well-being matters. You matter. And the moment you realize that, the moment you start to honor your own needs by setting clear boundaries, everything begins to change. It's not easy though. You've been so conditioned to put others first that setting a boundary feels almost unnatural, like you're being selfish or unreasonable. You worry that people will judge you, that they won't understand. You fear the pushback, the resistance, and you wonder if it's worth it. But let me ask you this. What's the cost of not setting those boundaries? What's the cost of continuously putting your needs aside? It's your peace, it's your joy, it's your sense of self. When you constantly ignore your boundaries, you're allowing other people to control your emotions, your time, and your energy. And eventually that wears you down until you feel like a shell of who you used to be. Setting boundaries is not about shutting people out. It's about teaching them how to treat you. It's about letting people know where you stand and what you're willing to tolerate. It's a form of self-respect. And when you begin to set those boundaries, when you begin to say, this is who I am, and I will not allow you to treat me like this anymore, you reclaim your power. You stop being at the mercy of everyone else's needs, and you start taking responsibility for your own emotional well-being. You stop allowing others to dictate your worth and start showing them that you deserve respect, love, and care just as much as anyone else. But here's where it gets hard. Sticking to those boundaries can feel even more difficult when the people in your life don't understand, when they push back, when they make you feel guilty for taking care of yourself. It can feel like you're in the wrong. It can feel like you're being selfish, even though you know deep down that you're just trying to preserve your own peace. But the truth is, sticking to your boundaries is one of the most empowering things you can do for yourself. It's a statement that says, I will no longer accept being treated in ways that hurt me. I will no longer allow my own needs to be ignored for the sake of others. This is where the transformation happens. You begin to realize that your worth is not determined by how much you give to others. It's determined by how much you value yourself. When you respect your own boundaries, when you stop letting others take more than they give, you begin to build healthier, more respectful relationships. You stop attracting people who only want to take from you and start attracting those who value you as much as you value yourself. When you start sticking to your boundaries, you feel a weight lift off your shoulders. You stop being drained by toxic behavior, by constant emotional manipulation, by people who don't care to respect your time and energy. Instead, you feel empowered, you feel free, and as you begin to respect your own needs, you start to see the world shift. You begin to experience peace, joy, and fulfillment in ways you never have before, because for the first time, you are living life on your own terms. So here's the breakthrough. Setting boundaries isn't just about saying no to others. It's about saying yes to yourself. It's about choosing your own peace, your own happiness, your own sense of self-worth over the fear of disappointing someone else. The moment you set those boundaries, the moment you choose to protect yourself, you take back control, you take back your power, and in doing so, you create a life that honors who you truly are, a life where your needs matter as much as anyone else's, a life filled with respect, love, and the peace you've been seeking. It's time to stop sacrificing your well-being for others. It's time to start setting boundaries that honor the incredible person you are. When you do, everything changes, and you'll finally be free. ChatGPT said, you've been fighting for it, haven't you? Fighting for something that doesn't seem to be there no matter how hard you try. You've given pieces of yourself, hoping that maybe this time they'll see you. Maybe this time things will change and they'll give you the love, the respect that you've been craving. You've told yourself that this is just a phase, that if you love enough, if you give enough, you'll eventually get back what you've been pouring into this relationship. But the truth is, the more you fight for something that isn't there, the more you lose of yourself. The pain of begging for love, of pleading for respect, is suffocating. It's exhausting. You're giving and giving, but they're not seeing you. You feel small, overlooked, unheard every time you try to speak up. Every time you try to stand your ground, they push you back down, making you question if your worth even matters. You find yourself in this endless loop, constantly sacrificing your happiness, your peace, your dignity, just to keep them in your life. But deep inside, something shifts, doesn't it? You start to realize that this isn't love, this isn't respect, this is something else. And it's not your fault. The hardest part, the part that tears you apart, is knowing that walking away feels like a loss. It feels like you're giving up on someone who, at one point, you thought you couldn't live without. It feels like walking away is the ultimate defeat, like you're throwing away everything you've worked so hard to build. But let me tell you something. Leaving isn't losing. It's the most powerful act of self-preservation you can make. When you walk away from people who don't honor you, when you stop begging for love that isn't being returned, you're not abandoning them, you're reclaiming yourself. You deserve to be loved for who you are, not for who they want you to be. You deserve respect, not as a reward for your sacrifices, but as something that's inherent to your worth. The moment you decide to value yourself enough to walk away from someone who doesn't give you that respect, you start to reclaim the power you've been giving away. It's not about being cruel or punishing them. It's about protecting your peace, protecting your self-worth. It's about recognizing that you can't heal in a place where you're constantly being drained, where your energy is being taken from you instead of being nurtured. Walking away doesn't make you weak. It doesn't mean you're quitting. It means you're choosing yourself, choosing your peace, choosing your dignity. And that choice, that internal shift, is where the true power lies. Because when you stop begging for love and start valuing yourself, everything changes. You stop chasing after something that isn't meant for you. You stop looking outside of yourself for validation, and you start to heal piece by piece as you rebuild a life where you're honored, respected, and loved for who you truly are. It won't be easy. There will be moments of doubt, moments when you question if you made the right choice. You'll wonder if you gave up too soon, if you could have tried harder. But remember this, when you walk away from people who don't honor you, you're not giving up. You're choosing peace. You're choosing a future where you can thrive, where you can grow, where you can love and be loved in return on your own terms. You're walking away from the weight of their disregard and stepping into the freedom that comes with self-respect. And once you make that choice, you will never go back to begging for the love you deserve. You'll realize that true love doesn't come from desperation. It comes from knowing your worth, from standing firm in your boundaries, from giving and receiving love in ways that honor both you and the other person. So here's the breakthrough. The moment you walk away from toxic people is the moment you step into your power. It's the moment you stop allowing others to define you. It's the moment you start loving yourself the way you've always deserved. And in that moment, you'll see walking away wasn't a loss. It was your greatest act of self-love. It was the beginning of the life you were always meant to live. You've been living with it for so long, haven't you? The constant noise, the stress, the tension that lingers in your every interaction. It's like an invisible weight that sits on your chest, always there, always pressing down on you. You tell yourself it's just a part of life. Conflict is inevitable, right? But deep inside, you know that this isn't just about occasional disagreement or discomfort. No, this is different. This is the kind of exhaustion that comes from always having to manage someone else's toxicity, always having to fight for your own peace. The kind of exhaustion that leaves you drained, questioning your worth, and wondering if it's even possible to feel at ease again. You've tried so hard to make it work. You've tried to be understanding, to bend, to adjust, to compromise. You've put in the effort to hold relationships together, even when you were being torn apart in the process. You've made excuses, told yourself that things will get better, that maybe it's just a phase. But the truth is, you've been sacrificing your own peace, your own well-being, for the sake of people who didn't appreciate it, didn't see it, and worst of all, didn't value you. It's painful, isn't it, to realize that despite all you've given, all the effort, all the love you've been pouring from an empty cup, and now it's time to face the hardest truth of all. You can't heal in a toxic environment. It's time to let go. Time to cut the ties that have kept you bound to people and situations that drain you, manipulate you, and strip away your sense of self. The thought of doing it, though, of walking away from those toxic relationships, feels almost impossible, doesn't it? It feels like you're abandoning something that's a part of you. You've been so entangled in their lives, so wrapped up in their needs, that it feels like a loss, like you're leaving behind something that defined you. But here's the revelation: peace is not the absence of conflict. Peace is the presence of emotional safety. When you let go of what no longer serves you, you create space for your soul to breathe, for your mind to quiet, and for your spirit to heal. This isn't just about removing people, it's about giving yourself the gift of space to rediscover who you are, to reconnect with the person you've been losing in the chaos. I know it feels hard, the idea of cutting ties with someone you care about, someone you've invested so much into, feels like a betrayal. You wonder, can I really do this? Can I really walk away from someone who has been a part of my life for so long? But the truth is, your peace is more important than holding onto relationships that drain you. Letting go is not about rejecting them as people. It's about protecting you. It's about recognizing that you don't need anyone else's approval or validation to feel worthy of happiness. When you step away from toxic people, you stop allowing them to dictate your emotional state. You stop being at the mercy of their moods, their manipulations, their drama, and you start to find your own rhythm again. You begin to hear your own voice, to feel your own emotions without the distortion of someone else's influence. This is where the shift happens. When you clear away the toxicity, you make room for something real. You start to attract people who honor you, who respect you, who bring peace into your life, not chaos. You begin to create relationships built on mutual respect, understanding, and love, rather than fear, obligation, or manipulation. You start to realize that you don't have to fight for love, that true connections don't come with strings attached or conditions attached. When you reclaim your peace, you begin to trust yourself again. Trust your instincts, and trust that the people who are meant for you will respect the boundaries you set. You don't have to prove your worth to them. They see you, they respect you, and in turn, they create the space for you to flourish. You'll notice it right away. The weight will start to lift. The constant anxiety, the emotional exhaustion, the second guessing, it will all begin to fade. In its place, a new sense of clarity, of calm, of joy that you forgot was even possible. And it's not just a temporary relief. This is real peace. It's the kind of peace that comes from standing in your own strength, from knowing that you've made the right choice for yourself. You'll start to feel lighter. Your heart will feel fuller, because you're no longer carrying the burden of someone else's negativity. You'll find yourself smiling again, laughing without the fear that someone's going to turn it into something to criticize. You'll find that the love you've been longing for was never about begging for it from someone else. It was about giving it to yourself first, about creating the space for yourself to heal, to grow, to be the person you've always wanted to be. The breakthrough comes when you realize that the only way to keep your peace is by choosing it every single day. And sometimes that means walking away from what isn't healthy, from what isn't serving you. The moment you choose to protect your peace, everything changes. The relationships that remain will be better, stronger, more authentic, and you'll be whole again. Because when you let go of the things that steal your peace, you finally make room for the life you were meant to live. You've been here before, haven't you? The constant second guessing, the self-doubt, the way your mind races, trying to figure out if what you feel, what you think, is even right. It wasn't always this way. Once you trusted yourself completely, your instincts were sharp and your choices were clear. But then you let someone into your life who didn't respect you, who didn't see your worth, who didn't value your voice. And over time, they chipped away at your confidence, made you feel like you couldn't trust yourself anymore. And now, here you are, questioning everything, even the smallest decisions, wondering if you're wrong, wondering if you've always been wrong. Toxic people have a way of making you doubt your very being. They twist your words, gaslight you into thinking you're overreacting, make you feel small and insignificant. The longer you let them stay, the more you start to lose sight of your own judgment. You start to question whether your instincts were ever right. And slowly, bit by bit, the person you were strong, clear, and sure of yourself starts to disappear. You become less sure of your own voice, less certain of your worth. You begin to look to others for validation, approval, because it feels like you can't trust what you feel anymore. But here's the hard truth. Every time you let someone take away your ability to trust yourself, you lose a little bit more of who you are. The more you allow their toxic energy to seep into your life, the more you lose touch with the person you used to be, the person who trusted their gut, who stood tall in their choices, who knew deep down what was right. But you don't have to stay here. You don't have to let this toxic influence dictate your every move. You can rebuild the trust in yourself that you've lost. You can take back your life. The first step in trusting yourself again is walking away from the toxicity. It's the hardest step, but it's the most important. You've been holding on, thinking that maybe, just maybe, things will change. You've been trying to make it work, trying to be understanding, trying to convince yourself that it's worth it. But here's what you need to hear. You don't owe toxic people your time, your energy, or your peace. The moment you step away, the moment you stop allowing them to take up space in your mind, in your heart, you begin to clear the fog that's clouded your judgment. You begin to see yourself clearly again. You begin to hear your own voice above the noise. It's not easy though. For so long, you've been tangled up in their lies, their manipulations, their gaslighting. Walking away feels like an act of defiance. It feels like you're abandoning something you once valued, something you thought you couldn't live without. But it's not abandonment, it's self-preservation. And when you finally take that step, something shifts inside of you. You'll feel it. This tiny flicker of clarity, of peace. And you'll realize that you can trust yourself again. That feeling, that clarity is the first sign that you're healing. It's the first step toward regaining the confidence you lost. You are not defined by the toxic people you've allowed into your life. You are defined by the strength it takes to walk away from them. But the journey doesn't end there. Trusting yourself, again, isn't a one-time decision. It's a daily practice. It's about starting to listen to your own voice again, not the voices of others who've tried to control you. It's about recognizing the patterns you've allowed, the things you've tolerated that go against your very essence. It's about saying no when something feels wrong, and yes when something feels right, even if it feels uncomfortable at first. It's about trusting that your instincts are still intact, that your heart still knows the way. And as you rebuild this trust in yourself, you begin to create new relationships. Relationships that are healthier, more authentic, and rooted in mutual respect. You stop seeking validation from others because you found it within yourself. You start to attract people who honor you, who see you for who you really are, and who encourage you to stay true to yourself. You stop settling for love that demands you shrink and start embracing love that allows you to grow. You realize that trust in yourself doesn't just bring peace, it brings freedom. Freedom to be who you are. Freedom to make decisions without fear. Freedom to live your life unapologetic. So here's the breakthrough. The moment you reclaim your trust in yourself is the moment you take back your power. It's the moment you stop letting toxic people dictate your life. It's the moment you start living authentically again, trusting your gut, and making decisions that align with your true self. And when you do this, when you trust yourself fully once again, everything changes. Your relationships, your confidence, your peace, it all falls into place. You are the person you've been waiting for. And when you start listening to that inner voice, there's nothing that can stop you. You've been there before, haven't you? Giving everything to others, bending over backward to make them happy, trying to earn their approval, their love, their respect. You've poured yourself into relationships, sometimes even at the cost of your own happiness, because you thought that's what love was. But deep down, you've always known that something was missing. You've been giving, but feeling empty. You've been seeking validation from others, thinking that if they loved you enough, if they accepted you enough, you'd finally feel whole. But here's the hard truth. You can never feel whole if you're relying on someone else to complete you. You've spent so much of your life waiting for others to love you, to see your worth, to appreciate the pieces of you that you've hidden away, scared they wouldn't be accepted. But in doing that, you've neglected the one person who deserves your love the most, yourself. You've given everyone else the space to take what they need from you, but you haven't given yourself the space to just be. And now you're left with the question, what happens when I stop waiting for others to love me and I start loving myself instead? The truth is, self-love isn't selfish. It's essential. It's not about being arrogant or vain or thinking you're better than others. No, self-love is about recognizing your own worth, about treating yourself with the respect, care, and kindness that you've so often shown others. It's about giving yourself the permission to be your own best friend, your own support system. And when you begin to love yourself in this way, something incredible happens. You begin to detach from toxic people. You stop allowing others to take from you, to define you, to control your emotions. You begin to realize that you are enough exactly as you are, and you don't need anyone else to validate that. Think about it. How often have you put someone else's needs before your own, sacrificed your peace for their happiness, or tolerated behavior that you knew deep down wasn't healthy for you. And for what? To feel loved, to feel accepted. But that kind of love is conditional. It's based on meeting someone else's needs, on being what they want you to be, not on who you truly are. And when you stop giving yourself to others in ways that leave you empty, when you stop waiting for someone to fill the spaces inside of you, you begin to realize that you've always had the power to fill them yourself. Self-love is the foundation that everything else is built upon. It's the base from which all your other relationships grow. Without it, you're constantly seeking validation from others, looking for someone to tell you that you're worthy, that you're enough. But with it, you stop looking outside yourself for what you already have within. You begin to trust yourself, your instincts, your worth. You stop tolerating people who don't honor you, who don't respect your boundaries, who don't see you for who you truly are. You start to set the standard for how you deserve to be treated. And when others fall short, you let them go. Now I know this isn't easy. It's hard to break the cycle of seeking validation from others, especially when it's been a pattern for so long. But the moment you begin to practice self-love, to acknowledge your own worth, you'll start to feel a shift. You'll stop depending on external validation to feel good enough. You'll stop letting others take up space in your life that belongs to you. You'll start saying no to the things and people that drain you, and yes to the things that fill you with peace, joy, and purpose. You'll realize that the love you've been seeking from others was always inside of you, waiting to be discovered. And here's the breakthrough. Self-love isn't just about accepting yourself on the good days. It's about loving yourself on the bad ones too. It's about recognizing that you are worthy of care, of respect, of love. No matter how imperfect you are, no matter how many mistakes you've made, self-love means accepting yourself in your entirety, the light and the dark, the strengths and the flaws. When you do that, you no longer need anyone else to complete you, to fix you, or to fill you. You already are complete. You already are enough. And no one, not their words, not their actions, not their neglect, can take that away from you. This is where the shift happens. When you love yourself, you stop tolerating toxic people. You stop seeking validation from others. You begin to build a life where your self-worth isn't determined by anyone else. You begin to attract relationships that are based on respect, mutual care, and love. Relationships where you can be yourself without fear, without compromise. And it all starts with you. It starts with loving yourself the way you deserve to be loved. So here's the realization. You don't need anyone to complete you. You've always had the love you were searching for. It was never about them. It was always about you. When you begin to truly embrace yourself, when you start giving yourself the love and respect that you've been seeking from others, everything will shift. And that shift, that realization, will be the foundation for everything else in your life. Strong, healthy relationships, boundless self-worth, and the unshakable confidence that comes from knowing you are enough. You've been here before. You've stayed in relationships that drained you, made you question your worth, and left you feeling like you were never enough. You've tolerated behavior that chipped away at your confidence and your peace, all in the name of love, loyalty, or the hope that things would get better. But deep down, you knew something wasn't right. You knew you were giving more than you were getting, and each time you let it slide, you felt a piece of yourself slipping away. The truth is, when you allow toxicity to stay in your life, you make it harder to see what real love, real support, and real connection look like. You get used to the drama, the pain, the emotional turmoil, and you forget that you deserve more, but you do deserve more. Letting go of toxic people feels like a loss, doesn't it? It feels like you're giving up on something, leaving a piece of yourself behind. It's hard to walk away from people you've invested in, people you've loved, people who've been a part of your life for so long. And yet, the more you stay, the more you realize how much they've taken from you. The emotional toll, the self-doubt, the constant questioning of your worth. It all adds up. It doesn't feel like love. It doesn't feel like respect. And yet, you keep telling yourself that if you just try harder, if you just give more, things will change. But they won't, because real love, real respect, real connection doesn't require you to shrink, to beg, or to prove your worth. It just is. Here's the breakthrough. Letting go of these toxic relationships isn't a loss, it's a gift. It's the most powerful act of self-love you can give yourself. Because when you free yourself from the weight of toxic people, you open up space for something better, something real. You make room for relationships that honor you, relationships where you don't have to question your worth, where you don't have to wonder if you're enough. You stop settling for less. You stop accepting scraps of affection and start attracting people who are ready to give you the love, the care, and the respect you've always deserved. At first, it's uncomfortable. The silence that follows the departure of these toxic relationships feels like a void. You might start to wonder if you've made a mistake, if you're just being too harsh. It's easy to fall back into the old patterns, to crave that familiar chaos, because it's what you've known for so long. But that's not love. And the discomfort you feel now, it's the growing pains of releasing something that never truly served you. It's the painful but necessary step toward healing, toward attracting the relationships that nourish your soul rather than drain it. The beauty of letting go of toxicity is that you make space for people who respect you, who see your value, and who aren't afraid to show up for you. Real relationships are built on mutual respect, trust, and genuine care. When you stop accepting toxic behavior, you start to see people for who they really are. You attract those who will meet you halfway, who will offer you the same loyalty and love that you give them without making you sacrifice who you are. And here's the hardest truth to accept. You can't have healthy, supportive relationships if you keep holding on to people who tear you down. You can't make room for the relationships that will build you up if you're still holding on to the ones that keep breaking you. Letting go isn't about shutting people out. It's about making room for the people who will show up for you in ways that are healthy, uplifting, and real. It's about setting a standard for what you will and won't tolerate and sticking to that standard no matter how uncomfortable it feels at first. When you embrace this change, when you let go of the toxicity and allow space for healthier relationships, you will start to see a transformation. You'll start to feel lighter. You'll start to feel more at peace. You'll start to trust yourself more, knowing that you've made the choice to protect your heart, your soul, and your well-being. You'll start to attract the kind of people who will honor and respect you, who will love you for exactly who you are, without trying to change you, These relationships won't feel like a constant fight. They will feel like a homecoming, like a return to yourself. And that feeling, it's worth everything. It's worth walking away from the chaos. It's worth choosing peace, even when it feels hard. You've been through enough. You've endured the emotional cost of holding on to people who didn't see you, didn't value you, didn't love you the way you deserved. But now you're making the choice to let go. You're making the choice to free yourself from the chains of toxicity and make space for the love and relationships that will truly honor you. And in that space, you'll find a love that doesn't demand anything from you but your authentic self. That's where your healing begins. That's where your happiness begins. So, trust yourself. Trust that walking away wasn't a loss. It was a powerful step toward creating the life, the love, and the connections that you deserve. When you choose to let go of what doesn't serve you, you make room for what truly will. And that, my friend, is the most beautiful thing you can do for yourself.